Jesus knew he was going to be betrayed by one of his 12 closest disciples. When he told the 12 about it, they all denied that they would ever do something like that. Peter was probably the most vocal in denying this. He promised Jesus, "Even if I must die with you, I will not deny you." But Jesus told him, "I tell you, Peter, the rooster will not crow this day until you deny 3 times that you know me." Of course, Peter insisted he would never do this. But later that night, once Judas betrayed Jesus and the guards arrested him and dragged him away, Peter tried to keep up. He found out where they were keeping Jesus and was able to get into the courtyard outside the home of the high priest, where they were interrogating and beating Jesus. As he waited, a servant girl saw him and said, "You also were with Jesus the Galilean." Before he knew what he was doing, Peter blurted out, "Woman, I do not know him." He moved to a different spot, trying to blend in, but a bit later the servant girl saw him and said to the others warming themselves by the fire, "This man was with Jesus of Nazareth." This time Peter swore an oath to convince them that he was not with Jesus. "I do not know the man." Finally, the bystanders who had been warned by the servant girl looked at Peter and said, "Certainly you too are one of them, for your accent betrays you." This time, Peter called down a curse on himself to convince people he wasn't lying. "I do not know the man." While he was still talking, a rooster crowed, and the argument he'd had with Jesus just a few hours earlier came back to Peter. Right then, the guards were moving Jesus from one place to another, taking him through the courtyard, and Jesus looked Peter in the eye. Not only did he fail to do what he had sworn he would do for Jesus, but he got caught red-handed. Jesus heard him calling down curses on himself and swearing he knew nothing about Jesus. The words died on his lips. Peter ran away and cried his eyes out. It's interesting that all 4 Gospels in the Bible tell us about Peter's denial of Jesus. It became a key part of the story of Jesus' crucifixion. You might think Peter would have insisted they keep it quiet. Surely it was the single most embarrassing failure of Peter's life. Why tell anyone about it? Jesus wasn't done with Peter. After he rose from the dead, he visited with Peter one-on-one. Then, surrounded by the other disciples, he gave him 3 chances to tell him that he loved him. 3 times he asked him, "Do you love me?" 3 times Peter said, "Yes, I do, Lord." And 3 times Jesus told him to take care of his sheep. Peter became one of the most important leaders among the first Christians. And he made sure people knew that he had failed Jesus completely. Peter knew the truth. Jesus is the one who makes us something great. On our own, no matter how determined we think we are, we always fail. We always come up short. Maybe you can relate to Peter. You'd like to follow Jesus, but you realize you fail miserably, even when you really want to do the right thing. Here's the important thing to remember. Jesus came for sinners, not for saints. He came for people who can't do the right thing. Jesus is the one who can change our hearts and make us new people, able to do things we could never do on our own. Jesus eventually made Peter brave. He would stand before the very same powerful men who had crucified Jesus and confront them with the truth of their wickedness and challenge them to repent and turn to Jesus in faith. One day, Peter would be killed for his faith in Jesus, and he would not deny him, even though he ended up being crucified for it. That is the kind of change Jesus will make in your life if you will trust in him.